put it as the intro. To the,
What, just me ranting about
No, the
Europe?
intro is just the. I put the stratagem on the screen.
Okay.
I think we are live.
Okay, I'll stop being angry.
No,
Are
about
we
what?
live? Do we think we're live? I don't want to talk about it. It's
What don't you
fine.
want to talk about? Why don't you want to
I
talk
don't
about
want to
it?
talk about
Yes.
the stupid stratagem. Hello. Go on, take us in, Sophie.
Right. Hello and welcome. Technical problems aside, we are now live. So you've probably just seen us meandering around for a couple of minutes, but no, this is us. So welcome to our first live stream with Bottom of the Barrel.
Yep.
And we've got a couple of guests here with us. So first of all, I'd like to introduce Owen, and I will turn myself down because I can hear myself.
So if you're
Yeah,
so
I can
loud,
still hear you
There we
too.
go. There we go. Okay, you can all still hear me. That's important.
it's
I
an
hear me
intro, and
all
I'm of
the
course
time.
having to flinch because of Soph.
So we have Owen. So introduce yourself, Owen.
Hi, my name's Evan. I'm reasonably new to, 40k and AOS. Been playing since the start of 8th edition. In 40k, I play Eldar, namely Harlequins and Craftworlds, and in AOS, I play Daughters of Cain.
Excellent. And then we also have Nick on the channels. So Nick,
Oh.
give us a wave. Introduce yourself.
I'm Nick. I got back into playing 40k kind of halfway through 8th. I'd originally played sort of like Rogue Trader, 2nd edition, 3rd edition, way back when, and then discovered booze and girls, and it all went out the window. Kind of met these
Happens to
guys,
most of us.
met this lot, and they dragged me back into it. I
What can I
currently play Space Wolves and Gene Stealer cults. I really hope they get better because right now they're trashed here, but they're fun.
We've brought Nick on side mainly because by doing so, the number of armies we have access to on the channel has doubled, more or less.
Yeah. Pretty much.
And for his company, obviously.
Yes.
Nick?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So and then Dan and Alex and myself, Sophie. So the reason we've all gathered here this evening is because we all went to a tournament at the weekend.
Yep.
And it was very similar in setup to our last tournament. So it was 1,750 points, and not such a big tournament. So there were 16 people turned up. So it was actually between the 5 of us, we made up about a third of the tournament.
We've realised on the way there that, hang on, there's a good chance we're just going to end up playing each other.
Yes.
Actually, all day.
Yeah. But for Sophie and I, it was our second real tournament, and for Owen, Nick, and Dan, it was your first, wasn't it?
Mm.
Actually,
Yeah, definitely.
have any of you three been to any tournaments ever at all before, or was it literally your first time dipping your toes into competitive wargaming?
First time for me.
In terms of 40k, yeah, I've been to like Magic the Gathering tournaments before, so I've got that sort of similar experience.
Yeah, it was definitely just the first one that I've ever been to.
Cool.
Yeah, Dan, I know we went to the Christmas doubles.
Oh yeah, that.
However many years ago, that was fun.
Oh yeah, that's technically
that as well.
technically a tournament.
Yeah,
but it was
competitive or not is debatable.
It was was it eight? Was it 750 points, random pairings,
yeah.
bonus points for Christmas themed armies.
Oh yeah,
or
you
models.
got 1 point for a draw, 1 point for a Christmas jumper, 1 point for a Christmas hat, 3 points for a victory or something. It was fantastic.
I think it should be tournament standard actually, but probably won't catch on.
Point for bringing cookies to your
even in the
opponent.
middle of August. 1 point for a Christmas hat. It's
And
August,
it's
don't care.
dedication.
Yeah.
It's already
It's
a
really
sweaty
warm.
game. It doesn't make much difference.
Yes.
So
Okay, so
go on.
shall I kick off with what I brought to the tournament, and then we'll go through what everyone else brought. So I decided that instead of bringing the meta option of my ad mech, I decided I'm going to bring the orcs.
The meta orcs instead.
Yeah, meta orcs, and yeah, the codex has been out a short time, and this is no one's really played them before. So I had 1750 of Evil Sunz Speed Freaks. Now I didn't do a buggy list. I did lots of trucks with lots of boys, and I quite enjoyed it. This was Speed Freaks to get extra movement. You've got Res Mecha's Red Armor, which is like Fanta Black except more red.
Oh,
It was and generally worked quite well. So I generally wanted to be a very mobile force and really pushing the lines. Which, when we talk through our games, I will spoil
let's do
warning.
a bit more
It
depth.
worked quite well. Yes. Alex, what did you bring?
I thought I'd change things up a bit, and bought World Eaters.
Yes.
No, it wasn't just World Eaters. It was roughly 1,000 points of World Eaters. A couple of units I've used quite a bit. My drills have done really well in most games. I've taken them in. 2 Blobs Berserkers, a couple of characters. But the problem I had last tournament was not enough anti-armor that could in turn take some anti-armor. Whatever I had that could punch a hole through something just evaporated instantly. So I thought, how do I fix that? And the way I fixed it was with a knight. And I thought, well, I'm going to bring one knight, may as well bring more. So I ended up bringing about 1,000 points of World Eaters and about 750 points of Chaos Knights. So one big one with a pair of thermal cannons and a pair of little ones, including trying a Moirax the first time.
Yes.
My Rexes are gross,
and
it
they
turns
all-
out.
Yeah, I mean, I've been nagged constantly by an Imperial Knight friend to try Moirax with lightning locks, and I've always resisted because I didn't want to convert one. And then thought, okay, well, fine, it is a tournament, I probably should. And I've begrudgingly had to admit that Dave is right, which I don't like doing on principle. But
There's also reasons he's wrong.
Been wrong about some other
was
things.
really good.
Yeah.
Definitely wrong about
Does anyone think anything major
Move
he's
on,
wrong
move
about?
on, talk to someone else. Don't
Anything
talk about
major
what
that's
he's wrong about.
wrong?
Ask
Nick,
someone else.
Nick, how about yourself? What did you bring to your debut tournament list?
Well, I brought a Space Wolves list, running them as a successor chapter. So kind of very much up in your face, close combat, generally as an idea. 3 characters, a number of dreads, like 4 dreads, I think.
Before, and you had
Yeah.
a contemptor with Volkite.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Yeah, the
saw that in your list, and
Yeah, Wolf and 2 Contemptors, Contemptor with Volkite, some Blade Guard, some Wolf Guard with Jump Packs and Lightning Claws, and some Blood Claws to round out the troops.
nice. And then Owen, you bought Harlequins.
I bought some Harlequins and I bought some Craft Worlds. So yeah, Soaring Spike Harlequins. So they think they can advance and shoot their pistols out their clown cars, and they don't take any penalties for it. Very good, because you've got fusion pistols, which are basically melters. So you take 3 of those, you take some bikes, and that's your Harlequin stuff sorted. And then you just take some sort of powerful good stuff. So I had a couple of Shining Spear squads, had a couple of support platforms, a couple of Warp Spiders to do some objective stuff.
Was that for Rod? For trying
That's
to
a rod
retrieve
mainly,
Octarius data?
and they're also really good for engage because they can also move very far without even having to deep strike. I mean, they do that as well. So
I mean,
yeah, it's
so
an interesting plan.
just a general. Were people going in designing their lists with secondaries in mind, either denying or trying to score?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
Yeah, so
I'd love-
you know, with Warp Spiders, yeah.
I'd love to say yes, but no.
No.
I built mine aware I was going to give up, bring it down, because I had 5 units over 10 wounds, one of which is a Titan. So, yeah, it was an acceptable loss that I was going to give it up. I actually decided not to focus too much on some of the action-based secondaries, because I thought, okay, if I'll focus on killing, focus on the primary, and it did actually kind of work to an extent, because it meant I could just only really worry about the primary rather than having units focused fully on doing secondary objectives. But that was more of an accident rather than a plan.
Yeah, I know certainly with my list, I took it against a couple of people and noticed that there were a lot of vehicles under 10 wounds, and I was like, actually, this doesn't really give up no prisoners, assassinate, or bring it down. I think it was like 9 points for bring it down, 5 points for assassinate, and 6 points for no prisoners. So it was like completely useful. Now this is a lovely segue because Dan, your list with the Tyranids. Did you have secondaries in mind? Tell us about your list.
I mean, I definitely plan to score secondaries, which didn't necessarily work in some games. Which we'll explain in a minute. But I also didn't really think about ones I was giving up, and I gave up a lot of points for assassinate and Abhor the Witch, with 4 psychers and 5 characters.
Oh,
So
each of those psychic characters
it's
giving
worth
up.
a lot of
Yeah.
points.
It's another
Lot of
point for the
points.
Broodlord, who's your warlord.
Yeah. So my list was my nids. So
And
it's
if
a
you had did you have the Swarm Lord?
yeah.
Yes,
So
you've got
it's
Swarm Lord and Hive Tyrant that are both over
yeah
9 wounds.
yeah Kraken Swarmlord, Flyrant with wings, and Broodlord. Two big blobs of Gene Stealers and some Termagants. And then what was it? A Kronos Battalion Kronos Patrol. There was a Neurophrope, Tyranid Prime, Tyranid Warriors, big blob of them, Rippers, some Lictors, and an Exocrine.
Yeah.
Lictor's
so Elixir's
very
worth
useful.
like engage and rod.
Just a free rod. 70
Yeah.
37 points to do a rod.
Nice.
And then they might hold a point afterwards.
With
Yeah.
the built-in deep strike as
Very
well.
nice.
Yeah.
Might get. I suppose it's only one model on are they 40mm bases? They're old models.
Yeah.
Yeah. So deep striking 140mm bases is
Not
I
hard.
suppose quite easy, even
It's
with people trying to screen.
yeah.
Right,
So
do you want to take us through your games, Sophie? Do you want to start us off?
yes, so I shall talk you through how I did. So my first opponent was a Thousand Suns player, chap called Elliot. Great guy to play against. It was his first tournament, and I think he wanted, he said his goal was to just play some different armies and win a game if possible, which I think is,
Good goal.
beautiful.
It's a good place to start.
Yeah,
I say seasoned tournament player that I am.
yes, with your second tournament under your belt.
Yep.
So on the first turn, my Wasbomb Blaster Jet turned up and destroyed a Defiler. Which I was completely surprised. 14 wounds, toughness 7. I had the rubbish loadout because I didn't want to proxy the model. But that actually turned up and did some work, and then a Demon Prince ran into it and swatted it out of the sky. In general, I moved myself up the board, not hyper aggressively, so not enough that he could just countercharge me completely, but enough to take the mid board. Now, on his turn then, he sort of came back at me with a little bit of psychic, damage here and there, but not too much, generally staying on objectives. And it was my turn 2 that I really hit him hard and just screamed everything out. So we had a unit of 10 Scarab Occult Terminators and Sorcerer in Terminator armor in Deep Strike. And this was about 450 points.
That's a big chunk of your army at 1750.
Yeah. So what I managed to do was I managed to screen them out pretty much of the table, and he ended up deploying them on his backline. I then just had enough orc board presence because the trucks are quite large units for 70 points. The buggies, these were 90 points for the Mega Truck Scrap Jets, which are amazing. Flat 3 damage against Terminators. I think 2 Mega Truck Scrap Jets killed 6 Terminators in one turn.
Nice.
Just by shot after shot, and then I rammed one into them. Just sucked one into a jet engine. Very satisfying. But yeah, that was. I won my first game. I think it was 85-35 or something. So I was very pleased. I took engage. I took the mission specific, and I took. Oh, what did I take? I can't remember my third. That's how often it would come up. Oh, Abhor the Witch. Well, of course, I have no psychers. Abhor the Witch. So I got 10 points for Abhor the Witch because there are a couple of people that just survived. But 85-35, so I managed to win that one. My second opponent was with the Swiss style. Usually they'll match you up to someone who has a similar win or
You
points
did
value.
really well in your first game.
Yep, which is a classic. Well, I didn't do, max it out at 97 points or, whatever.
Yeah,
So,
something stupid like that.
yeah, something stupid like that. Imagine that, Dan. Spoilers. But my then next game was against an Imperial Knight player, and this was Jay from Mohawk Miniature Gaming. I've played him once before a couple of years ago. Really nice guy to play against, but he played with a chess clock, and that was an interesting thing. So I obliged and I said I'll play with the chess clock, and it was a close game. I again took that centre of the board. I got first turn again. I took the mission specific, which was hold the side objectives and hold the rear one. I think it was
Vital
battle
ground, I
lines.
think it's called.
Yeah.
The mission's battle lines, the secondary is vital ground, I think.
Thank you, Alex. So I took that. I took engage in all fronts. Again, I took engage in all fronts. It's a list designed for it. And what's my third one? I wasn't grinding down. That was stupid.
Bring it down.
No, it was a stupid one. Oh, retrieve Octaris data, because I knew I could get some points out of it. I only got 2 on that, because I sort of got up to the midboard. But here's the big learning point I found with orcs. That war boss that you need to call the war, that I generally call on turn 2, because that's where you get the most out of it. That's where everyone's getting their +1 attack. That's where generally you can get out your trucks, advance, and then get into combat. So I lost him turn 1, and that hurt, especially when you got units of meganobs that could have really dealt with that extra attack. I killed a Knight Moirax. I got another one of the knights down to 1 wound, a single wound. So yeah, that's why I'm so annoyed that I lost that war boss and maybe didn't. Okay, he outplayed me on that, and in the end, I lost that second game. I think it was something like 85 to 60 points against me. So I scored 60 points. So it was very close. And for someone who was a very good tournament player, he was a very good player, knew what he was doing. So against someone of that caliber, very happy to get a 25-point difference. Especially, some of the losses you can get in tournaments can be big. Because it's occasionally bad matchups. These things happen.
Please stop foreshadowing all of my games.
Then my final game was against an Iron Hands player. Again, another lovely chap, but this one was much slower. And did I learn from the last game about the war boss? Well, no. My war boss died turn 1. I charged it into an Invicta Warsuit because I thought, war boss, he's got the killer claw, he's got his 5 attacks, and yeah, on average, but Iron Hands dreadnoughts. Even without the -1 damage, I didn't realise there were 13 wounds or something ridiculous.
Is it 6 up or 5 up? Feel no pain.
6 up. Yeah, but it came up a lot. He had 3 Redemptor dreadnoughts. I was quite pleased with this. I've played against Redemptor dreadnoughts before, especially with the Master of the Forge. So I know what happens when you let a Master of the Forge sit next to a Redemptor dreadnought. So my Wasbon Blaster Jet got up next to him and just reduced him to ashes and orky goo. Turn 1, and he was sort of like that. I suppose he is the closest. So yeah, melted him down, and then generally controlled. I was constantly being shot off the objective. The firepower that those dreadnoughts could put out was it was knocking off units. Wasn't knocking off the trucks as quickly. He would kind of put a lot of firepower into a truck and then reduce it to about 4 wounds. So I still had all my bumper cars kicking around. That one we played until the end of battle round 3, and then talked out. I won that one 71-64.
Okay, it's close.
And that was very close. That was a clutch game. OBSEC boys. This was OBSEC boys. I took engage on all fronts, raised the banner high, and we were playing Vital Intelligence of 6 objectives. And the reason I won was because I got him on the primary. I think he had 25 points on the primary, and I had 40. At the end, it was hold 2, hold 3, hold more. So for orcs, I had more ground. Whereas he scored 15 in turn 5, but only 5 points. Yeah, 5 points in 2 more of those. So, yes. So, yeah, 2 wins. 2 wins out of 3.
100% improvement on last time.
Absolutely. And do you know what? I was gonna, I'll save this to the end, but I will say my average score last tournament was 70 points. My average score this tournament, 72 points.
Hey.
Yes.
Improvement.
It's good progress.
Absolutely. So those were my 3 games, and I'm very happy. Very
Nice.
happy with how I did. Nick,
Yes.
would you like to regale your tales?
Not particularly, because I got crushed in every game. Well, crushed. I didn't quite get crushed in the last 2 games, but the first one, I played Jay, the guy that you played in the second game.
Nice player.
Yeah, the Imperial Knights guy knew exactly what he was doing. He unfortunately got first turn and took Dreadnought out, a Redemptor, got rid of the Contemptor as well. And it was just on the back foot from that point forward. My Wolf and Dreadnought did, however, run up the field and twat Moirax into the ground, which was very, very satisfying. And I managed to eventually take down his Megara, which was, again, another satisfying moment.
Yeah, I took down his Knight Shakira as well, or whatever they're called.
Yeah, Lightning Rocks. Never let anybody play them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I lost that 18-6, 19, I think. It definitely was not a close match. It was a fun match.
Yeah.
And like you said, Jay was like a really nice guy. He kind of gave me some tips and stuff, obviously being a veteran of the tournament scene, which really helped, which I then promptly ignored in my second game. I left my characters out on their own again, at which point they got crushed. And the second game was a bit slower. It was against.
So who was your second game?
It was against Darren. He was playing a Necron list.
Necrons.
Yeah, beautifully painted. Like I was absolutely kind of in awe of the job that he'd done on them. But yeah, trying to get rid of Necrons. I don't even think I've played against your Necrons, Sophie.
Not in 9th edition.
The amount that they come back is just depressing.
What, do you have a resurrection orb?
He didn't even use it. He had a squad of 20 flayed ones, and I must have killed 40 of them. Yeah, they just kept coming back. It was disgusting. Again, that was a pretty slow game. I think we were both quite new to 9th. Like, I played more games of 9th that weekend than I played previously. I think I had 2 games running up to the tournament. And kind of not really picking the right secondaries. Kind of
it's a skill. I find you get to 2 and picking that third one and go, right, I know hard. 2.
Yeah.
And there's also a skill for when you're making a list, thinking what secondaries can it do and what secondaries work against it as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, obvious after the fact, but...
Yeah, so I think we got to about halfway through turn 2. Then we kind of talked it out. And I think it was 27-56 in the end to the Necron guy.
That's actually...
Yeah. But again, a lot of that was kind of talking it out. So whether that's actually how it would have played out, who knows?
Yeah, it doesn't, like, especially people who are newer to 9th. A 20-point difference doesn't seem that that big. But it's actually quite a close game. So fair play. And then your final game?
My final game was against Jonathan. I want to say Jonathan. Grey Knights player. Thankfully, he was playing the 2 Dread Knight list rather than the 4 Dread Knight list.
Yes.
I did have the.
Please stop foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Who brings 4 Dread Knights? Honestly.
I know. And then gets wiped off.
Horrible to be that list.
Oh god, foreshadowing.
That was. But the last game was arguably my favourite game of the day. I managed to pick. I kind of like worked out what I was doing with the secondaries. So took engage on all fronts, and Space Wolf specific one, which is heroic challenge, which is I pick a character, your opponent picks a character, and then I get victory points if 5 if he's killed, if they're killed, 5 if my warlord if if, if they're killed in melee, and then another 5 if my warlord kills them in melee.
Nice.
You can
Did you
kind of
manage to
shoot
do
them
it?
off a board. I did. I shot his Nemesis Dreadknight, his Grandmaster, with my long. Went to shoot him with my long fangs. He then teleported them over the other side of the board and promptly charged them into essentially a chaplain on a bike. And my warlord heroically intervened. And the difficulty was actually doing the attacks in the right order so that my
The
warlord
Warlock
got
is the
killed.
final blow.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I did manage to kind of get top out that secondary, which was really, really nice. And then the rest of the game was great. It was very back and forth. It was very kind of tactical. He told me before the game that he had massive amounts of redeploy, and I promptly ignored that. Spread my lines out, but then just having some durability was really nice. It makes a huge change playing Space Marines compared to Gene Stealer cults, where basically somebody sneezes and half your army disappears. That was quite fun. And
Good.
that was another quite close game. I think it was somewhere in the region of 79-52.
It's amazing how these
quite
scores
well.
stick in your head, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, another close game. Another close game. Moving on then, Owen. Tell us
Right.
how you did with it with the Eldar Harlequins mix.
This is a tale of woe, unfortunately.
Oh.
It's sad. So my first game was against Thousand Suns. New codex, lovely guy. No idea what the army did. And I think that showed in this game a little bit, but at the same time, a little bit unlucky. So I got first turn.
That's good.
He had all his units in one corner. He had like a squad of 10 Scab Cult Terminators, lots of rubrics, and a Demon Prince, and one Forge Fiend, but it's mostly rubrics. And
And
then,
they don't die, do they?
well, that's what I found out. So
Yeah.
he had like one squad on this side of the table over here. So obviously I went that way. So I had solidly in 3 corners of the table. Turn 1, roll my attacks. Look at the dice. My opponent says, oh, "I'm sorry, mate. That's not very good."
Yeah.
And that was the theme for the rest of the game. To be honest, I just couldn't
Oh,
roll
no.
with anything.
Well, I
And-
suppose, did you find, like, with all the Harlequins having sort of, everything's got a 4+ invulnerable, but the Thousand Suns just kick out all those mortal wounds?
Yeah, Psychic Face was rough, but I think at the same time, a lot of what he was doing is buffing his Terminators up.
Okay.
So there's one side of the table was Terminators sort of slowly grinding my army to dust. And on the other side, I'm failing to hit somebody because I got a 5 up invuln.
Oh,
So,
dear.
that's just how it goes sometimes. But yeah, I think that game was like 95-37 to my opponent.
Yeah,
So,
so
yeah, it wasn't close, but I'm scoring points. I think that's
yes,
my takeaway from it.
exactly. And the second game you had was, remember,
It
yours,
was-
tell us.
It was against Necrons. Sort of a silver tide list, so he had 2 blobs of 20 warriors. He had a reanimator for one of them. He had 2 what they call reanimator orbs.
Resurrection Orbs.
Resurrection orbs, 2 of
Oh,
them.
2. Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, there's an idea.
So a real Silvertide theme then.
Yeah.
So he's also playing the dynasty where you can move forward 6 inches pre-game and then all your units off sec.
Relentless Expansionist and the other one,
Yeah.
the good one.
The good one.
Yeah.
So I went second and he was already on all the points of the board.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. I guess I'll try and kill these warriors then. The mistake I made here was splitting my fire between several targets. That's the mistake I made. So I killed when it finally got to my turn. He didn't actually manage to do any shooting on his turn because all his units were quite short range. But I managed to kill like 15 warriors in one unit, and then on the start of his turn, 10 of them got back up from the resurrection orbs, and it's things like that.
Yeah, it's you gotta focus down that
do,
big unit. Stop those resurrection orbs. Lich guard of the other one.
Yeah, you didn't have any Lich guard.
Yeah.
Wraiths though, Wraiths are annoying, but
yeah.
This is sort of when I realised how good troop masters actually are, because my troop master basically charged a squad of 5 wraiths and killed all of them. So that was good, but yeah, in the end, the score was 100 points to him and 40 points to me.
It's more points than your last game.
More points than my last game. It's true.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
It's just
And he must have played. He must have played very well to get those 100 points in, as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's like I just found it very tough to get through everything several times.
Yeah.
Like twice is fine. Several times, a bit too many.
I guess if you're going Silvertide, going all in on Silvertide, it's very much playing the mission rather than trying to kill you.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially with the Reanimator. I've never seen them in a Necron list, but I've got one painted up, so it gives me an idea.
So he had it hidden in ruins all the entire game, basically. And then, like, eventually Necrons just did enough damage, so I can't really contest anything anymore, and that's how the game went.
That's how Necrons play. That is completely their playstyle. So your final game. Tell us about your final game of the day.
My final game is against Tyranids, not Dan's Tyranids.
Oh.
But this is an 80 gauntlet list with 2 Hyrule duels.
Yeah, Hyrule duels.
Big shooty forward rolled things. And then like 6 hive guard with
some pitch them somewhere.
With line of sight ignoring weapons. Yeah, this is another tough game. Like again, a lot of bodies on points with OBSEC, which is I think the theme for what my army sort of struggled with to an extent. Like I was killing a lot of models, but not a lot at the same time.
So a horde's a hard counter to your list, do you think, then?
I don't think they're a hard counter. I think I started split firing, so this is obviously a mental block of it. I have at the moment. It's just not.
Never
on one unit.
But it is though. Sometimes it is, but it's usually not.
I think it's because they're already all on points on objectives. It's like, oh, okay, I need to shift them off several objectives. When like you can afford to spend one turn shifting something off the objective. I think that's one thing I would take away from today from tournament. So you can't take the time to kill one thing, and you're in a better position.
And taking people off those objectives, that's 5 or 10 point swings, which in a game of essentially 90 points of scoring is a lot.
Yeah. So this is another close game where basically the only things left on the board are 2 Hyrule duels and like my characters basically. Everything else just died.
Not through the hordes then.
Oh yeah, I scored like I took what was it, no prisoners? Or
the kill count one, which is no prisoners.
Kill count one. My kill count was 105 at the end of the game.
Oh, very good.
So yeah, everything died. But he was on primaries more, so I think the score was 63-37 in that game.
Okay, so that one was much closer.
That was much closer, yeah.
And secondaries, what secondaries were you taking? Were you taking similar ones, or?
I was taking Rod and Engage every game.
Yeah.
And then in the first game, I can't remember what I took third, because I don't think it mattered that much, to be honest. What was it I was going to take?
It's
Yeah, it's tough. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But for games 2 and 3, I took no prisoners on both of them. Because I was expecting to kill a lot of warriors and there was 80 gaunts.
Yeah, and taking it against Necrons is smart because you can get more than 1 point for each model.
Yeah, I think my kill score in that game was like 80 or so.
Yeah.
So like
everyone takes it against my Necrons, but I'd make sure they're the ones that keep track of it because it's such a pain.
If you're bringing Necrons, you're bringing Silvertide. It's your job to keep track of it. No.
Yeah, I kept track of it both in my games because I'm nice like that. But yeah, yeah. So those are the secondaries I'm taking. Now definitely my plan going in is to take Rod and engage basically every game. Because, you know, with 2 water spiders and the way the army just plays in general, you want to be sort of be threatening a lot of places at once, really.
Yeah, you need that table control.
Yeah.
Right, should we go on to Dan's first 2 games?
We can talk about the first one.
Okay, we'll talk about the first one. First, we'll start with the first. We'll start at the beginning. Dan, how did your first game go?
You know, it was the best game ever. I played
'Cause it
against.
was against the same Tyranid list, wasn't it, that Owen's just described?
Yeah, so it's
Yeah,
got a picture up of it. It's very lovely painted.
it was
Very good
gorgeous on the
painting.
table.
Yeah. So yeah, it was first round was a nid off, which was quite surprising, considering nid's not particularly meta at the moment.
How many? So out of the 16 players, how many NID players were
So I
there?
think three nid players. There's me,
Yeah.
me.
I have a theory because there was only, as we said, 16 players because there was another tournament happening relatively nearby, and apparently it's a bit of a bigger one. So my theory is all the AdMech and most of the Drakari players went that way, then all the Tyranid players in Bristol came out of the woodwork and said, "This is our chance. Finally, a level playing field, comparatively speaking. Let's go."
I have a
turned up.
different
Brothers.
theory. I
Yeah.
have a different theory, and it is NIDs are top of the meta. So
Oh, there is that.
you know.
Yeah.
The results do not speak for that. See, unfortunately,
Result.
I mean, the Nids did get a win in the first round. You know, it's very hard to draw in 9th edition. So yeah, in this game, I managed a pretty strong win of, I think it was 98-35.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's
just,
a huge amount of points. That's
Yeah.
that's a big score.
I just managed to wipe off almost all of his huge amounts of his hordes in the first 2 turns, to the point where he
This
couldn't
was
do much.
this was 95 to you, to be clear, wasn't it?
Yes, I
Yes,
think
yeah.
it was 98,
98, sorry.
35. Yeah, which is unfortunate for the second round. But in the first turn, I managed to get both my Gene Stealer squads into combat. Although one of them, he did interrupt with one of the Hormigunt squads, who wiped out most of the Gene Stealer squad impressively, even with a Catalyst on them, which was a little horrifying.
Oh, didn't he kill something like 12 in combat or something?
12, yeah.
Yeah.
12 out of the 16 with a interrupt, with 22 Hormigunt, I think. Yeah, the Gene Stealers slowly whittled them down. The other Gene Stealers whittled down his 24 Devil Gaunts. I shot the Swarm Lord off the table before he'd had a chance to do anything, which was nice, because I know what he can do.
Yep.
And also managed to get my Hive Tyrant in combat with one of the Hyra Jewels.
Oh, so it managed to charge this time.
Yes, I managed I managed 3 charges in turn 1, which is infinitely better than I usually manage of 0 with 4 up charges. But yeah,
So that was your first game,
yeah,
and it went very well.
that went very
And
well.
So I assume your second game went just as well, did it?
Yeah, so my second game ran into the foreshadowed other 98-point scoring list, which was unfortunately slightly more meta than Nid's, in a horrible Grey Knights list that included 4 Nemesis Dread Knights, the horrible super librarian that's like rolling 3 powers per turn, doing extra mortal wounds. It's just and he can teleport. So just
Nerd in Terminator armor.
yeah, turn 1, he just teleports across the board, hops in front of my Exocrine, mortal wounds him to death, obliterates all my Gene Stealers, obliterates most of my warriors. Yeah, and was in my face like halfway across the board at this point. And then I got my first turn, and I killed, I think, 9 Grey Knight Strike squad things. I can't remember what they're called.
Thing is, that's not actually bad.
It is when he's still got all 4 Dread Knights and another
It is in this
20 odd left, and yeah, it was not good. It was not good.
It was not. So was it just?
It
Would the
was.
game have gone different if you had turn 1?
I don't think so. I don't think much different. I don't think I would have been able to do enough damage to him. They got so many tricks up their sleeves, just compared to. It's just old Codex versus I think the second oldest Codex after Eldar.
That's the joint newest codex.
Yeah, versus the joint newest Codex. The power difference is just absolutely what he can do for the CP and the points is just so much more efficient than what Niz can do.
Yeah, and we have seen this. You know, it's you can hold your own up to a point with an old codex, but once you're going into tournament play,
Yeah.
these things happen.
So yeah, that one
So
was 96 to 24, I think.
yeah, yeah,
It
I
it
remember.
was
I remember you were playing near me, and then I looked over and it was like, oh, I'm playing
Balls
knights,
just slowly
and
sagging.
yeah, it
and
was
you're done before me.
yeah, turn one, and I had like 2/3 of my list deleted. It was just like,
Stuff's come back from that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have enough stuff to counter that, and
You suddenly just get outdiced.
it was also commented several times by my opponent that my dice were awful. Mostly in mostly in my saves.
Yeah, as opposed to your charges, which are usually
Yeah,
fair.
usually awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's something like my Hive Tyrant had to take 10 4-up saves and failed all but one, even with a reroll, which
Yeah.
was
So,
lovely.
Just to quickly say, we are taking questions in the chat. So if anyone in the chat does have questions, stick them in there, and one of us will answer. About any of the games. So yeah, that was drawing. So we will come back to your third game, Dan, and there
Ooh.
is a reason for that. There
Foreshadowing.
is a reason for that foreshadowing.
Probably do the maths and work out why.
Yes.
Just as
So
Planet.
5 of us in a 16-person tournament.
And no one's played
Alex,
each other
how
any
did
yet.
your games go?
Okay, so my first game was against Grey Knights, a chap called Jonathan, who I think was it Nick or was it Owen who played?
Yeah, no, I played him.
Okay. This was the not quite as horrible Grey Knights list, so it was 2 Dread Knights, big blob of Terminators, several squads of Strike Marines, unit of Interceptors, Librarian, and a Brother Captain, I think. Oh, and a Storm Talon, which is nice to see because I understand it's not particularly meta, but it's nice to actually see that on the field occasionally. Yeah, it's a good game. Secondaries, I took Assassinating a Paul the Witch because he had his Grandmaster as a targetable character, so that's 4 victory points, 3 for the Brother Captain, 3 for the Librarian. Abhor the Witch is a no-brainer against Grey Knights if you don't have a Psyche yourself. And what was my third one?
You telling me you didn't bring Psychers in your Corn World Eater list?
No, I thought about it and then realised I'm not allowed to, so I didn't bother. Oh, third one was banners. I didn't have a lot of things that can do banners. I had a unit of cultists, and my Dark Apostles, Dark Disciples, his hype squad, can do banners as well. But it was only a 4 objective game, I think. Was it 6?
No, it was 6
6 first
objectives.
one.
It
Yeah.
was 6, yes, and you have 3 within reach from when you start. So I was able to get banners up nice and early, and even when my cultists were promptly shot off them, the banner kept ticking. So while it's quite a low scoring one, it was still a predictable number of points. Yeah, it went well. I got first turn, managed to have the dual thermal knight maneuver around a corner and try to put some shots into his Dread Knight, or into his Grandmaster, at which point he did the stratagem of when you're targeted, so not stratagem, relic, I think, of when you're targeted, you can disappear and redeploy somewhere else. If you're out of line of sight, your opponent can reallocate the shots, fortunately, so he didn't waste the thermal cannons, but didn't get to put him down turn 1. I did, however, manage to drop his Terminators down to 1 with those thermal cannons, and then the indirect fire rocket pods also dropped a Strike Marine squad down to 1 model. So very early on, I was removing big parts of the army. My drills, I played differently actually throughout the entire tournament. I didn't deep strike any of them, which I actually think works better on the whole, and instead used them as basically mobile short-range tanks with a Fire of the Get Berserker missile in them. So the Berserkers I didn't use to actually try and hold objectives. They can't. For their points cost, they cannot hold objectives, but they can push almost anything off them. So
Would you say they would need a second wound?
no, no. I think they've got too many, to be honest. Yeah, they're a bit too durable. Maybe a 4-up save would help fix that, actually. Or
Anyway,
toughness 3 or something.
back to your game.
Yes,
So
yeah. managed to play quite well. I was quite proud of myself managing to do some movement shenanigans and try-point his brother captain on a home objective with the Berserkers. And just saying, I know you've got 5 attacks, and I know it's a Thunderhammer that hits on 2s and does 4 damage or whatever it is. You can't kill more than 5 of them. And yeah, being able to then just keep these Berserkers who can't be shot on his backline surrounding his character, who they promptly killed on the following turn.
And then
Yeah,
Big Angry Nerd with the book. How did that fare against?
Then
all
there was
the-
the big angry nerd with the book. Christ. Yes, this was the same librarian that you had trouble with. So yeah, I think it's a stratagem to add 6 inches to his range and a mortal wound to his psychic powers.
Ooh.
Some combination of what he does gives him a 3rd power, plus 6 inches range, plus 1 mortal wound on the damage. So he's
and he
able to
turns a D3 mortal wounds into flat
into
3.
flat 3. Yeah, so he's able to just go 4 mortal wounds, 2d3 plus 1 mortal wounds. Yes, this one nerd with a book took off, I think it was 17 wounds off my Chaos Knight.
Wow. That's nuts.
Yes, which I don't have a whole defense against, and actually I might have to start bringing some more psychic defense, given the sheer number of nerds with books there are in the meta at the moment, and their models as well.
Yeah.
So yes, I did win. He did get the knight, but it was a fairly decisive win of 74-35, which I was quite happy with.
Very good.
Basically through just removing most of his units.
Yeah.
Effective.
Drills are really good. Drills are
Yeah.
particularly good against high-value vehicles like Dread Knights in combat.
So what about your second game?
Second game, I had the same thing as everyone else who won their first game, where you do well, and then the Swiss tournament matching system punishes you for your hubris. Because I drew the one and only Drakari player in the tournament, a chap called Rowan, and I hadn't played Drakari before. I've heard the horror stories. I was dimly aware that raiders were undercosted nonsense and that succubi had more attacks than is sensible, but never actually had the pleasure of fighting them. This guy's army had 5 raiders, 2 succubi, one of whom had 14 attacks, I think. The other one had 7, but any that failed to wound or failed to do damage just get to be rolled again. Unit of Trueborn with a Dark Lance and a pair of blasters. I think I'm using the right words.
Yeah.
Sci-fi gun.
It sounds right. So lots of raiders, lots of board control, and when you blow them up, they pop out with some obsec.
Exactly.
Is that generally the?
And the game was battle lines, wasn't it? Yes, which is you
Yeah.
start on short table edges, so a long distance to cover, and plenty of obscuring terrain. So basically, I got turn 1 and literally couldn't shoot anything. Not I could shoot a couple of things, literally everything was obscured. My first turn was advancing and firing the indirect fire rocket pods. Secondaries, what did I take again? I think I took Assassinate, grind them down, thinking when things do actually come out, I can get more kills than he can. And Vital Ground to hold the 2 middle and the far objective. Vital Ground's probably a mistake. I couldn't hold objectives when the Drakari came out to play.
So what fundamentally with the game went wrong? Would you say?
My life to gunfight.
Yeah.
A lack of speed. I think I couldn't get any engagements that happened on Rowan's terms. If I was able to shoot a raider, it was because it had come out or it put its nose into the ruin to take out a Moirax the turn before. Or if I was able to fight Incubi, it was because they had just cleared my Berserkers off the field to take the middle objective. There were no engagements at all that happened on my terms. Aside from him having a better book than me, he definitely outplayed me. He knew exactly what he was doing. Had a definite game plan. One of his secondaries, Herd the Prey, is an inverse of Engaged All Fronts. You get 2 points per quarter your opponent is not in from turn 2 onwards.
That's very similar to the Necron one, I think.
Yeah.
To exterminate
Something.
flesh.
Yeah. So I just in addition to also trying to pick my fights, whereas I'd picked my secondaries to be able to pick my fights, I also had to be trying to put units into quarters where they weren't actually useful, just to try and stop him from getting the secondary. And for the most part, I forgot about it. By the time I started paying attention to it, it was too late. So I was tabled by turn 3, I think, maybe turn 4.
Final score?
86 to 51.
86 51 points, not bad.
No, not bad. Not
I'll
bad
say
at all.
not
I think
bad.
I played okay. I
Yeah.
made some pretty crucial mistakes, like not paying attention to herd the prey. But it was a tough matchup on a tough table. It happens.
And then the final game, dun dun dun. So in a tournament of 16, when there's 5 of us going, it was inevitable.
Yes.
You may have guessed it by now.
Dan and I were going to face each other, and
Yes.
stakes were high, weren't they, Dan?
No, not at all.
Oh, yeah, they were.
Come on, play along.
Dan, you'll be a rubbish hype man. Yes,
Yeah.
the stakes were high because
One
we
of
knew
us was
at
going to
this
go
point-
home with a 2-1.
Yes, yeah, and that was the, the coveted. We'd all, we turned up and gone. Well, one victory would be nice, but then we knew one of us was having 2 victories.
And one of us
Um,
wasn't in this matchup.
Yes, quite.
So there were definitely stakes. I think as well when the rankings or the placements came out at the end of game 2 before game 3, we were something like 7th and 8th or 6th and 7th in the rankings.
7th and 8th, I think.
So there's the potential one of us would also place quite highly, but depending on how it went. Mission was, I can't remember its name, but again, 6 objectives, same as everyone else. Hold 2, hold 3, hold more. And diagonal deployment zones. Dan, what secondaries did you take? I can't actually remember.
Retrieve terrorist data. I think it's. I can't remember. Bring it down.
You had Bring It Down because
Yeah,
you take Bring It Down against my
yeah.
list.
And I can't remember what my third one was. Engage on fronts. Oh, probably engage on front. Must have been. I took engage and retrieve terrorist pretty much every game because.
Mental interrogation. Yeah, mental interrogation, rod, and Bring It Down.
So it wasn't a long game, was it?
No.
Turn 1,
yeah,
Alex had some awful luck.
Yeah, turn 1, it was awful for me. I got
killed
turn
a
1.
You got first turn.
6 Gene Stealers, I think.
Yeah,
in my
killed
first
16
turn.
sealers.
In
And
total?
Yep, and in return I killed your armature and a drill.
And about half the berserkers in the drill as well, I think.
I think only 2.
Oh, I thought you got more than that, but yeah, turn 1 was in your favour, definitely.
Because you were playing on the table next to me, and this was wonderful because at this point, whoever was doing worse off, I could really rub it in. So, but
Yeah.
I was
She
even.
did. She did.
on both accounts. So it was. I remember turning over and going, "What? Dan, then what happened?"
The dice turned to hate me.
The luck vortex continued.
Yeah, my absence of luck continues, and I made about 3 saves for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
The knight shot the swarm lord. Thermal cannon shots went through. I made 0 out of 7 saves.
I had some luck myself.
0 out of 7 4-up saves.
Nice.
Very cool.
Improbable. The Swarm Lord failed to kill 10 cult. Not Swarm Lord. The Flyrant failed to kill 10 cultists on his own.
Yep.
He killed 9, and then the other one spent the CP to keep him around. And then the drill turned up and said, "No, none of that."
He also failed all his saves to the drill.
Yeah. You got diced. I don't think I played quite well as well, but you did get diced.
Right. So with the final, what was the final score?
It's 96 to 45.
Okay, so high. Well, even with such a teeth kicking, Dan, 45 points, not too bad. So, shall we reveal how we all did in ranking order? Unfortunately, Owen, should we start with yourself?
So, in a tournament of 16 people, I came 16th. So
Holding up the pack.
Holding up the pack.
Yes, well done.
So, somebody has to do it.
The foundation on which all of us are built. There we are.
The only way is up.
But The incoming last did come with benefits.
It did. So I got free entry to Christmas doubles, which happens soon. And then I also got a free pack of dice, which is very nice.
Yes, for your brand new Grey Knights army.
They
Oh,
have,
we'll see. We'll see.
they have a tradition at Bristol Independent Gaming where whoever comes last basically gets a prize, the idea being to help them do better next time. So last tournament, the person who came last got a free AdMech Codex. As a start again, pick a better army. And Owen was given some Grey Knights dice.
But you went in with the idea that you wanted to. What was your objective
Yeah,
going
so
into the tournament?
I didn't expect to win any games because I don't know what I'm doing really. Like I don't know what half the armies do. So I thought, okay, so if I focus on my own game, I think I can score 100 points. And over the day, I scored 106, 107.
There we
So,
go.
I achieved my goal. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think this is hugely important for people who are either starting out on the competitive scene or are just newer to the game and wondering about the competitive scene, is to have your own goals. I went in with going, if I can get one win, I'll be happy. Knowing maybe I could get a matchup that was favourable. But yeah, so I think having that, actually scoring 100 points, is a fantastic goal to have, and well done for achieving it.
Thank you.
Next up, Nick, tell us.
I came 15th.
15th.
I was bitterly disappointed that I didn't come 16th because obviously I didn't get the wooden spoon prize, so I lost by not coming last,
Yeah.
which was both great but also depressing.
Oh. But again,
I-
did you kind of feel that you had accomplished kind of what you set out to do?
I had hoped to at least win one game, but that obviously didn't manifest. I got like 130 odd points.
Yeah.
So
So
I was for a first tournament, like it feels okay.
and it's kind of getting used to that kind of mindset of playing 3 games in a day.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah, that
oh, by the
was
end of
so
it,
tiring.
we were all zombies, and we had a couple of pints down the pub, and we were just sat there, just completely zoned out. So I think it's just getting that mindset.
Yeah, and playing quicker as well. Like
Yeah.
playing Jay in the first game with the chess clock was actually really interesting because it was very much more snappy. Things happened a lot quicker. You made decisions faster. I don't think I made any bad decisions either, which was really nice. But then, kind of in the second game, it was a lot slower, and I think kind of not having that impetus to actually do stuff. I think it did have a negative effect on the game. I think we would have got through a lot more.
Yeah.
Otherwise.
We actually talked about this in our group, didn't we? And so we have now picked up a chess clock for next time we have a
Yes.
get together. Because it does sound like it actually helps you become a more confident player. Because you have to be confident, because you have to make a decision quickly rather than analysis paralysis, I guess.
Yeah. No, I'm just going to make bad decisions quicker. That's what I'm going to do.
That's your intention all along, Soph.
Yes, I play by intent. I intend to do quickly.
Do the thing. Fast, go.
So next up we have Dan.
I think I came 10th overall.
10th. So 10 out of 16. How did you find your first solo tournament?
Yeah, all good. Lots of fun. I hate my dice. I need to get more dice.
Yeah,
It doesn't seem to help.
You have
I
mine
have
if you want.
no. Yours are just as bad, Owen.
I went for new ones, but sure.
Oh, true.
Yeah. Coming up next is myself. So I came a heady. Oh, there we are. So I came 4th. So I was slightly off a podium, but I was really happy with this. So I think as a percentage that when I've competed in different competitive events, aside from 40k, one thing I do is look where I came as a percentage of the pack. And my objective here was kind of top 2/3 actually. So actually coming top
Fractional
3rd.
percentage, but carry on.
Yeah. Well, it's
Sorry.
percentages and fractions.
Yeah.
We'll shelve this. This stream is going to be an hour long, and not 2 hours.
Yes, okay. Sorry.
So yeah, actually 4th, but I was 5 points away from the podium, and those 5 points were actually taken by Mr. Marsh here, who podiumed and came third. So
nice.
congratulations,
Thank
buddy.
you.
Obviously, World Eater's OP.
Absolutely. Again, too many wounds in the berserkers. Too many useful stratagems. Interacting too many phases of the game. I think we should lose the shooting phase. Clearly, having no psychic phase is not enough of a drawback. No either, or maybe no movement.
Yes.
Yes, drop the movement phase as well.
Yes. But you're very happy with how you
yes,
did.
Jokes aside, yeah,
Jokes
really happy for where I placed. I was hoping for win a game because I won a game last time, so I don't want to do worse than last time. Winning 2 would be nice. I won 2. I just happened to win them rather well, apparently. I mean, you were robbed. Beat you by all of 5 points, which is
5
a
points.
narrow gap. So we'll have to settle that on the channel at some point.
Yes. And in fact, that will be coming up on the channel. Is mine and Alex's tournament lists. So we will see some more Khorne versus Orcs coming up on the channel soon. But yeah, 5 points. But it was a well-deserved third place. So well done for that.
Alex, is that the first time you've beaten me in 40k in a while?
Yes, it's the first time I've beaten you 40k since our very first battle report, which was also Khorne versus Nids, where you had some absolutely atrocious luck. And
Oh yeah, that one.
yeah, that one.
Yeah.
I can send you a link if you like, if you want to watch.
I will cover you.
Right. Okay, so just going through, we've not had any questions from the chat, but I think we'll wrap it up there. That's almost an hour on the nose.
Yep.
So thank you very much for joining us. Leave us any comments underneath. Drop us an email at the bottom of the barrel, or list descriptions. If anyone wants to hear about the lists, let us know. We've got bottom of the barrel at bottom of the barrel batreps@gmail.com is our email address. I'll pop that in the description. And we also have links to Instagram, Patreon, or like and subscribe on the channel if you've enjoyed us. We're going to have some more battle reports coming up soon. Nick will be coming and joining us for some Adeptus Titanicus, so we haven't forgot about you, Titanicus fans. Why you're still watching it in an hour and 2 minutes, I don't know, but we haven't forgotten about you, Titanicus people.
Sigmar fans, we're going to get Owen on the channel at some point for his Daughters of Cain versus either Lumineth or Khorne, or eventually Tzeentch, so I'm told.
Yeah, look, I need to meet them up.
So he's going to get back to work as soon as we're done here?
Yes.
We're going to make Nick start doing more heresy.
Yes, we're going to get some more Horus Heresy on the channel. And speaking of which, I have some more here, so I will be having some more variety in the lists. And that is all we have for this evening. So thank you for joining us, and we will see you again soon.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.